Alrighty everyone, with the roadmap of the Star Wars franchise all the more expanding by Disney CEO Bob Iger, focusing now on movies again instead of Star Wars TV shows primarily, they are also building up new pieces of Star Wars lore that are officially in the hands of both Favreau and Filoni to really steer things in a better path for the franchise as a whole. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel for future Star Wars updates. Also, by the way guys, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support. It is greatly appreciated. Now, one thing that we do know about, of course, everything related to Kathleen Kennedy is that Disney's ultimate plan is to fire her by August of 2023. We talked about this many times. And they want to get her replaced with Ron Howard, the guy who directed and created Solo: A Star Wars Story after the original creators were fired by Kathleen Kennedy as a last-minute choice. Now, that brings us to what Bob Chapek really had to unveil about Kathleen Kennedy and, of course, the Star Wars community, and really, just becoming more and more talkative and truthful to the fans, and really revealing more secrets about what was going on over at Disney and Lucasfilm, and what really was going on within Kathleen Kennedy's mind at the time. Now, we already know that Kathleen Kennedy has had a lot of problems with the fans, and with, of course, George, and John and Dave's direction, because it carries George's vision. This has been a thing that has been an ongoing issue, and it's why I think a lot of fans are really reserved when it comes to their excitement for the Acolyte and Skeleton Crew, because that is a pro-Kathleen Kennedy project, both of which are, by the way. So, moving on to, of course, the biggest thing here right now is that with Bob Chapek fired as the Disney CEO, with Iger now taking over, and has been, and changing things already as we speak, Chapek has been more talkative and revealing about Lucasfilm's operations and president of the company, Kathleen Kennedy. In a recent interview that Chapek took part in, he went on to reveal her feelings about the fans after she had lost her creative power because of him. Chapek stated the following to the fandom: "When I made the decision to dial down her creative power drastically, she did not have the greatest response to me personally over the phone." And how a lot of this had to do with, of course, my decisions. When I made the decision to make this call, the greatest response to me personally over the phone, and kept on asking questions such as why I was doing what I was doing. I gave her the reason, which was that the fans and the entire community was upset about her direction with the Star Wars universe, and so I handed it over to John and Dave to carry George's legacy more so. She got very upset with me and expressed how we shouldn't give in to the fans, and that the decisions that I had made were done in a blinded way. So let me just pause here quick for a second. So Kathleen Kennedy is obviously a person who does not like to accept certain decisions by people that are higher than her in power. And you guys may recall back in March of 2020, it might have been April, it was right around that time when Chapek was coming in and making all these decisions and these calls, and this was 2020, by the way, of March and or April. And a lot of things were changing, a lot of things were shifting around. This is really when John and Dave got a full slate of Star Wars TV shows. That's really when it happened. In the beginning, Kathleen Kennedy only wanted them to handle, just the Mandalorian series and that alone, kind of leaving it at that. And then when, of course, Chapek came in, he really gave them the opportunity and said, let's get you working fully on Ahsoka, let's get you fully working on, future seasons of The Mandalorian and extensions of the Boba Fett series, and getting more involved with extensions of the Mandoverse as a whole, right? And so Bob Chapek makes it clear here that Kathleen Kennedy wanted nothing to do with all of that. She did not want that to happen at all. And Chapek goes on to reveal some pretty in-depth material in a second. We're going to cover that just in a minute. But Chapek, I gotta say, as much as I criticize the guy, and you guys know me, if you guys have been following a while, I do heavily criticize his work on handling the Disney parks. I think he did a terrible job, not just with the rates of the parks, but some of the creative processes of the actual theme parks. But I do gotta give him a lot of credit, I do, when it comes to handing the keys over to John and Dave, and grandfathering in that, of course, to the Disney company, so Bob Iger cannot touch that for X amount of years. So, with that being said and all right, he goes on to say the following. She was very irritated with the fans, and still is, who kept speaking out and criticizing our work. She didn't and couldn't accept the fact that their constructive criticism is what led to us trying to fix the problem. It was a very tough process for us at Disney, but I had to make it happen to stabilize the brand. She had a couple of meetings with the board and tried to get my decisions reversed, but we all had agreed it was best to keep that in the hands of Mr. Favreau and Filoni to bring Star Wars to a new age. I have enjoyed my time at Disney, and I will always look back at the positive, but the tough times have only validated my decisions, and I'm proud of them. Now, the thing about Chapek that I like a lot more than Bob Iger is Bob Iger almost reminds me of like your typical, corporate executive that does not really like to talk directly to the fans all the time. And that's what he has been doing lately ever since he was fired. Bob Iger didn't do, much of that even when he left and when Chapek came in. He just was radio silent for a very long time. And that leads to a lot of fans wondering if that was the plan all along, to drag Chapek in to deal with the tough times, to treat him as the fall guy, and have him go through such a tough time to the point where the board had no choice but to fire him and bring Bob Iger back in. A lot of people, including myself, believe that's a heavy possibility that Bob Iger did that on purpose. It almost seemed too good to be true. Why would you come back out of retirement so fast and easily, right? And just jump right into running Disney again. It just seemed a little odd to me, and there is definitely something going on there with that double transition. So, Chapek really puts it out there that Kathleen Kennedy was very irritated, is the specific word, with the fans because of them raising their concerns, raising constructive criticism about the shows, raising their actual criticism of the series and their direction of the franchise, like Kenobi and Boba Fett and the movies like the sequel trilogy mostly, right? That's really what made Chapek made the ultimate call at the time, where the movies getting a lot of criticism still, a whole year later. And that really, of course, put him in a tough spot too. So it is, once again, further confirming here that Kathleen Kennedy does not like the hardcore fans. Maybe she doesn't even like the casual fans. It seems like she does not like the fans that support George's vision and all of the fun lore that came out of it. We're talking legends, we're talking the comics and the books throughout all those years ago that could have been used for endless amounts of movies and live action projects were completely disregarded because of Kathleen Kennedy. So anyways, that brings us to, of course, the end here. Let me know what you guys have to say about all this below in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.